Let's wait for a few more audience and we will start in 1 minute. So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to this digital innovation world and digitally innovative world. And through digital technologies, in recent times, we have captured our imaginations uh, and to support the new normal. And this digital transformation uh, will likely be supporting the boardroom agendas in coming times. And I do not want to be in between you and the panelist. Today, the session is moderated by Mr. Imran Khalil and Ms. Faria Shah. So over to them, Mr. Imran Khalil and Ms. Faria Shah.
Thank you, Kamran, for organizing today's webinar, which will be focusing on digital innovation for entrepreneurs and businesses in Pakistan. We are joined by 4 panelists from the tech sector. We will be asking our panelists how IT is empowering Pakistani businesses and also about their entrepreneurship journey, especially in the wake of COVID-19, along with their strategies going forward. We will also be engaging our audience through 3 audience poll questions during the session. The poll questions will pop up on your screens. We've also allocated 20 minutes towards the end for Q&A for the audience. You may ask questions using the Q&A option or share any comments that you may have using the chat option either during or towards the end of the session. Before we go to our panelists, I'm also joined by Faria Shah, my co-moderator for today's webinar. Faria, if you want to briefly introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. It's a pleasure being here today, touching upon the tech sector, something that's very close to all of our hearts in Pakistan, and the key challenges that are being faced by them today. And both Imran and I have worked in the corporate sector for a while in the past 20 years after graduating from CBM or IOBM. And I think the one thing that we've seen is that it's really the tech advancement that we've had in Pakistan that's changed the paradigm of how businesses operate here. And for a third world country, which we still are, to be at the level of digitization that we're at, I think it's a proud moment. So I'm very, very excited to have these wonderful panelists with us today. And let's just kick it off and start the conversation.
Thank you, Faria. I want to start off with Asif Jafri. Asif is CEO, eOcean and Momentum. Asif, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and also about what Momentum and eMotion are. So a little, please do explain a little about yourself and then also tell us a little how your businesses are impacted by COVID-19.
Ji Imran and everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for having me here. Am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. So as Imran mentioned, that my name is Asif Jafri. I'm a founder and CEO of eOcean Private Limited, which is the largest messaging and voice aggregation company in Pakistan. I founded this company 12 years ago, but before that, I worked for corporate sector. I worked for Park Libya Holding Company. I worked for American Express. I worked for Union Bank, and then I served Unilever, and then I was part of Telenor, Telecom, one of the largest telecom operator in Pakistan. I was also part of their launch team. These days, I'm managing eOcean, but since last 3-4 years, we've also been running the largest startup technology conference called Momentum, which is basically an aggregated platform for all academia, banks, telecom operators, investors, startups, and we're the only platform in Pakistan where tech giants like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, IBM of the world, they come together and be a part of an ecosystem that is really supporting and helping young entrepreneurs to build companies out of Pakistan. So we are hoping, and we are still in search to have our first unicorn out of Pakistan, but let's see how things go from here. With respect to COVID, from eOcean's perspective, we are doing a few projects with Government of Pakistan and with Digital Pakistan. One of that project is, ring back tone. Whenever you're calling, someone and you're getting to hear that message about the COVID. So we are behind that, and we are running the entire campaign, and we are changing the message from time to time, helping people to understand how you can avoid COVID. So the message is being played across 165 million mobile subscribers in Pakistan. And recently, Gallup Pakistan has done a survey, and they have found out this has been the most effective medium that we have never tried before. And this is the first time we tried this medium and reached out to 165 million mobile subscribers in Pakistan. Help them with some awareness about the COVID. Because you see, you talk about any medium, be it television, be it radio, be it newspaper, or in COVID, there was no possibility that you could go out and, meet people and could explain them. So this was the safest method, as well as, it was very personal. When you were calling someone, the message was being played only at that time. But beside that, how our business has been impacted with COVID, I'm very thankful to Almighty that we've been running a complete digital platform, which basically means we have no, engagement on ground. All services are actually digital in nature. That means any message, any communication that's being generated from servers, basically it goes out to mobile subscriber in Pakistan mobile phone. So one example of that would be, so let me explain you a little bit about my business. Basically, we are a company where all SMEs and corporates in Pakistan connect to communicate with their customers over SMS or over voice, and we are adding more channels on WhatsApp, on Facebook Messenger, on Instagram, and we are basically adding all future generation channels to our platform. So an example could be whenever there's a transaction in your bank account, so bank sends you an alert, right? A certain amount has been debited or credited in your bank account, and if you want to connect to the bank using SMS service, so probably, most probably, you are connecting to us, and then you're talking to your bank. So that is what we are doing. And in COVID, since we serve major, all big sectors in Pakistan, be it banking, be it retail, be it FMCG, be it e-commerce or ride-hailing industry. So we have been hit by a few industries that were, put a hold on. Let me give you an example of ride-hailing industry. So we work with Careem, we work with Bikea, we work with Civil, we work with Airlift. So, all these companies actually came on standstill point. So our revenue actually become flat, absolutely nose down dip in that sector. However, if we compare this sector with the banking sector, banking transactions have gone up, digital transactions have gone up. And in fact, there have been many circulars being circulated from State Bank of Pakistan to facilitate end users in terms of if organization wants to have refinance scheme to retain employees and not to fire them. So SMEs and corporates could avail that offer. And many relaxations in terms of no transaction fee in terms of online transactions. In Pakistan, if you do any online transaction right now, there's no fee. We're very thankful to State Bank, and I think that has also helped a lot of adoption in financial transactions in Pakistan, because now people know that there's no transaction fee. I mean, compared to this, before one of the bank that I used, I don't want to name it, but it was charging 150 rupees per transaction. So imagine if somebody, who is not very comfortable paying that much amount, but now that fee has been completely waived off. So, a lot of people are doing transactions online. And what the study that I've recently gone through from State Bank and from other platforms, there's 100% increment in terms of online transactions. In fact, yeah.
If I can jump in here, I think what you're touching upon is the fact that the government is already starting to take steps to try to make access to technology and digitization across sectors a lot easier, for not just for the companies that are operating, but also for the consumers. So I just want to ask you, more about how you think technology can help Pakistan's trade economy in specific, making it more conducive and helping us increase our GDP and exports. And if there are very specific, if you have any inputs on what kind of recommendations that you would have that the government should take steps in order to make that easier for everyone to transition to.
Well, I think there are two parts of your question. One is the local GDP we are talking about, and the opportunity that we can have from export perspective. So Pakistan is at a very interesting point of intersection right now, because we have about 165 million mobile subscribers. Out of that, about 65 to 7 million have smartphones. So, this is huge smartphone base we have in our country. And in terms of how this can help digitize a lot of businesses. I think this is a perfect time for any startup, any business that wants to serve customer digitally. 65, 70 million is a huge base. I mean, that's probably that's a bigger number than few nations around the world. So so this piece alone is basically huge advantage to us, that we can create digital services. And in the presence of COVID, a lot of people do not want to go out, and businesses can offer them services online. Of course, that has to be with the right use case. Just being online doesn't mean you solve a problem. You have to serve the right use case, the problem that you're solving. So basically, this is a very good time from that perspective, having this many smartphone users in your country. Secondly, I think the opportunity is there that out of 165 million, about only 65 to 70 million people are using a smartphone. That means we have still 100 million people, they are not online, digitally connected, using their cell phones. So this is a great opportunity where government can also bring those people to this digital economy. That means these 100 million people are not online, they're not being part of the digital economy. They cannot order food online, they cannot they cannot consult doctors online using their cell phone, because now we have a lot of platforms. So I think my recommendation to government should be that they should lower down the taxation on the mobile phone, in fact, especially for the smartphones. And if somebody is buying food for the first time, there should be some facilitation. They can get some discount. They should get some subsidies, or maybe 6 months, for the first 6 months. Maybe internet could be subsidized from a government sector. So I think if we do
Asif,
that,
Asif, if I may jump in here, what would be Momentum's business strategy to produce that unicorn out of Pakistan? Yeah, you spoke about that earlier. तो आपकी business strategy में क्या चीज़ ऐसी है that you are putting emphasis on to produce that unicorn from Pakistan?
Okay, so basically, when I spoke about my introduction, so I was a corporate banker, I was a corporate employee, and turned into a tech entrepreneur myself. So I've kind of gone through journey myself, and I have a very interesting journey with myself, because I never raised funding. I never took loan from the bank. So basically, I bootstrapped my company, and today, mashallah, it's one of the fastest growing company. Our revenue is in a few $1 million, and we are expanding not only in Pakistan, but we are hoping to expand outside Pakistan. That means we soon will be expanding to Saudi and in US as well. But coming back to your question, so we ourselves have gone through that cycle from 0 to 1 million, from 1 million to 10 million to 20 million. So we believe that, there's certain roadmap that startup needs to be, going through. And referring back to our journey, people, we got support from our ecosystem, but it was on ad hoc basis. So what we're trying to do is to give a structured support to the startups. Structured support, when I say that, I'm talking about basic tools and services that a startup needs to start with. Without doing a lot of research, they can save their time on, they can focus on the services. Plus, they need help in terms of opening their doors with the businesses. So we are bringing the entire ecosystem coming together and helping these business ideas turn into reality, to give them basic connectivity with the corporate sector in Pakistan and with the consumers, facilitating them how to run business from scratch, from a point of view that they have an idea and they want to build up. So, this kind of services were there in Pakistan, but they were not, well coordinated. They were operating in silos. There was a certain platform, but they were operating in silos. So what we are trying to do here is basically bringing all those silos into one place. But since last 3 years, we experienced that, we've been running this conference and we've been, interacting with a lot of startups and the ecosystem players. But what we have observed, the main thing which is missing in the ecosystem is the API gateway. That means that, you can build your business, but if your business is not connected with all other ecosystem players in the industry, then your growth will be very much limited. So let me give you an example of that. So we all use Google Maps, in our lives, to go from one place to another. So Google Map is a beautiful service in itself, but imagine when it opened itself for the entire ecosystem, for any other developer, for any other startup to build services using Google Maps. So today we see, Bikea, we see Uber, we could see Careem, we see Food Panda, then we see a lot of services, but on the back end is Google Maps. So what we are doing in Pakistan, we are creating an API gateway where businesses, if they want to connect with HPL, if they want to connect with Careem, if they want to connect with Food Panda, if they want to connect with iWant, so basically, what are the services that these platforms offer to them without wasting much of the time, reaching out to this platform if somebody wants to build in some Careem service within their app. So without going and reaching out, finding out the right person, they can, skip all those steps and they can come on our platform and they can find out what are the APIs available in Pakistan. So, coming back to your, question that what are we doing? This is one key area that we see that, this is seriously missing, because even if you talk about the best bank in Pakistan, best telco in Pakistan, best digital company in Pakistan, that is operating within its own ambit. It's not connected with multiple industries or multiple companies. So, when we talk about eOcean, basically from day one, since last 12 years, we have been operating an API business. And that is the reason why we have grown so much, because our platform is connected to so many companies in Pakistan, in thousands of companies in Pakistan, and few hundreds, outside Pakistan. So yeah.
What you're trying to say is that in order for us to take the next few steps, we need to have a more synergistic system, which is connected to like different gateways.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I think what we'll do is we'll move on to Javed now, Iqbal, and he can start off. Javed, we'd love to hear about what Transformix is all about and what you're bringing to the digital table in Pakistan, and then we'll go into each of the questions.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Digital table is massive in Pakistan, and there's a massive opportunity to do a lot in there as well. We are a transformation consultancy, and we help with building strategies and roadmaps for large organizations as they look at their next generation of businesses. And we've been doing that for multiple of years. We do it in Pakistan. We have a back office in Pakistan. We're a US-based company, and we do it in multitudes of different areas, whether it's in Europe and in the Americas as well. So excited about the opportunity. It's a massive opportunity. There's not a lot done in Pakistan yet. There is seems to be a lot of focus as of late, and inshallah lag yahi raha hai ki aage is pe काफी सारी चीजें होंगी, and we're happy to be part of that.
That's great. So now, if you can just give me a few very specific examples of the kind of tech disruption that you see happening in Pakistan, and also what is closely related to the work that you are doing.
देखिए, disruptions तो हर जगह हो रही हैं. If you start looking at the landscape of transportation, how Careem and Uber changed that, Careem specifically, उसके बाद food delivery के अंदर Food Panda and so forth. If you look at all the different types of telecommunication prowesses that are starting to happen, and how they're not only transporting data, but they're transporting voice, and now they're starting to transport money as well. So कितनी सारी fintechs आ गई हैं जो कि आपकी पूरी economy को enable कर रही हैं. So anything that moves people, anything that moves money, anything that amasses data and uses that data and leverages that data to build a new business strategy or a business model, like Asif alluded to as well, वो बहुत बड़ी opportunities होती हैं. And I think we're in an early enough stage जहाँ पे infrastructures आहिस्ता आहिस्ता बनने शुरू हो रहे हैं. Pakistan की पहली digital strategy is very new. It's about a year, less than a year old. Digital Pakistan जिसका आसिफ ने जिक्र किया, वो वाला भी पूरा aspect is very new to our country as well. I've been part of a few of these initiatives जो कि you know, Momentum जो कि आसिफ and his team does, and then 0 to 1 Disrupt and Startup Grind and many others. So जो सबसे इसमें खुशाइन बात यह है कि multitudes of technology players जो कि या infrastructure provide करते हैं, या उसकी applications provide करते हैं, या उसकी execution provide करते हैं, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता मुल्क में आना शुरू हो गए हैं. Obviously there is massive.
हमारे consumers are also very accepting, and they're quite excited about all of these new technologies being available and all of these new offerings that are coming onto the table. So, I mean, if you just had a supply and no demand, it would have been another kind of an issue. But we, mashallah, say have both. So that's probably very encouraging for both you and Asif.
Very encouraging. क्योंकि अगर आप इसकी छोटी सी example लें, my mother during these COVID times, she wanted ये जो आप typical donation देते हैं different इदारों को, she asked me one day, she said कि मैं ये पैसे भेजना चाह रही हूँ, कैसे भेजूँ? And I said कि मैं आपकी जो बैंक की ऐप है उसके अंदर ये चीज़ enable कर देता हूँ. And she was fascinated. She said कि अगर मैं यहाँ बैठे बैठे ये पैसे दे सकती हूँ तो मैं और क्या क्या चीज़ें कर सकती हूँ. So now this is an example of an older lady who all of a sudden is starting to look at many of her life decisions based on this one enabling factor कि आपके हाथ में बैठे एक इतनी बड़ी चीज मौजूद है जो कि आप कर सकते हैं. Similarly,
you've also post conversion, right? Because a lot of people in Pakistan wouldn't trust technology to that extent, especially fintech. Like I personally know people my age, which is not as old as your mom right now, and they're like, I don't want to use the banking app. But you know, now because of COVID, they didn't have a choice. So there's been a lot of post conversion, and I think that only bodes well for the future. Keeping in mind that we also need to be very careful about online security and all of those things, because that's another key area where you know, we have a very big chance of creating chaos. But it's the consumer landscape has changed so significantly in the past 4 months because of the specific situation that we find ourselves in.
और ये और बहुत बढ़ेगा, and this is the crux of how we help the organizations that we partner with or consult on. And then we bring in a lot of our partners जो कि vendors हैं specifically around these products as well, whether they are understanding your customers better, understanding your employees better, उनकी enablement कैसे करें, whether it's educational enablement or product-wise enablement or technology infrastructure enablement and so forth. और बड़ी interesting आपने बात की जो consumer की adoption है इसकी जो कि बढ़ती जा रही है और मज़ीद बढ़ेगी, which is a testament to not only the various you know, bodies at the back end that are at play, but इसका जो बहुत बड़ा एक हमारा advantage है हमारे मुल्क में that no one seems to sort of yet completely amass yet is Nadra. If you understand the concepts of how Nadra has already digitized identity for the entire country, that's leap years ahead, light years ahead from many other countries, and we sell this technology to others as well. So बहुत सारे इस तरह के मुल्क जो कि backward integration के लिए जिनके पास पीछे identity लोगों की नहीं होती है and connected aspects नहीं होता, वो सारा कुछ जो है वो सारा हमारे पास already है, हमें सिर्फ उसके ऊपर अपने innovations build करने. And I'll give you a small example of that. Some years ago I was representing a company in the US. We were doing some work in Washington, D.C. for US Postal Service. And they were looking at some identity pieces where they wanted to map and match their various constituents with their families. And I talked to them about Nadra और जो हमारा खानदान नंबर उस पे lineage आती है, and they were blown away कि in a place like Pakistan ये हमने lineage और capability बना दी है. Now we just have to see कि किस तरह ये silos can be brought into multitudes of technology. How can the government come in? How can aspects like Asif talked about of communications जिसके ऊपर रख के conversations होती हैं, how can all that be brought together? How can the movement of money, which seems to be a very near and dear thing to our heart because ये बहुत cash rich economy है, और अगर आप इसकी digitization कर देते हैं, it becomes a very transparent piece कि आपकी money movement हुई कैसे थी. That's another can of worms that we can talk about another time. But I think ये सारे are very positive signs, especially COVID ने जो एकदम से मजीद इसको propel कर दिया है. I think we're very excited about the opportunity and the chance ahead.
Javed, what trends are you seeing from these large-scale organizations जो कि जिनके साथ आप काम कर रहे हैं? And also, are we seeing any demand from companies outside Pakistan for these IT ventures from Pakistan? Yeah, is that something that you feel that we are yet to tap into?
Excellent question, Imran. So पहले सवाल का जवाब ये है कि I'm finding organizations in two sort of stratas. पहले हैं जिनको पता ही नहीं क्या करना है, which is fine. They've never done it. So they need a widespread educational activity around it where they need to figure out कि digitization का in their own industry, in their own geography मतलब है क्या, right? So पहली चीज तो ये है. तो उनका पहला ये struggle है. उनमें से बहुत सारे ऐसे हैं जो कि have never taken on such a massive change effort and they're struggling with it. Kuch are family businesses where the father is not letting the child do it and other way around as well. I think वो एक बड़ा aspect है. दूसरा is also another very interesting can of worms. दूसरे में ये है कि they now understand, especially the large banks and telcos and pharmas and others, they now understand that digitization is here. We need to automate, digitize, and do other things like that. They've incorporated some strategies around it. Now they're struggling with execution because मुल्क में वो वाला talent इस वक्त available नहीं है जो कि पूरी organizations को उस तरफ लेके जाए, because ये पहले कभी हुआ नहीं है. So I think ये दो जो आपने पहले सवाल का जवाब है, ये दो aspects futuristically अभी exist करते नहीं है, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आ रहे हैं. जो उसका flip side है वो भी बड़ा interesting है. Pakistan is home to one of the largest freelance communities in the world, and there is a lot of talk about that as well. जो हमारी youth है वो बहुत ज़्यादा, whether it's website creation, code writing, content writing, creative aspects of things as well, इसको बहुत ज़्यादा enable कर रहे हैं for the world. We're almost becoming the creative pieces for some parts of the world, almost like a factory. So जो बड़ी opportunity इस aspect में ये आई है कि because of COVID एक localization और geographization खत्म हो गई है. So you could be sitting in Pakistan and the entire world is now a customer of yours. If you look at the Fiverr and Upwork models and start applying it everywhere else, people don't necessarily care कि आप कहाँ बैठे हैं, as long as आप काम कर सकते हैं और ये चीजें कर सकते हैं. So ये जो मैं लास्ट पार्ट खत्म करूंगा फ्रिया, ये जो बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स बनाने वाली हमारे पास बहुत सारी कैपेबिलिटीज आ गई है, वो इंटरनली इस्तेमाल नहीं हो रही है फॉर आवर कंट्री, वो बाहर के लिए इस्तेमाल हो रही है. जो स्ट्रेटजीज को बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स के साथ मिलाने वाली कैपेबिलिटीज हैं वो भी एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रही हैं फॉर लोकल कंपनियां. वो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता इनमें से निकल के आएंगे. सो आई एम पॉजिटिव that there is a lot that can happen and inshallah it will go through. Sorry, go ahead.
You'll answer. So I was just, I just wanted you to very quickly touch upon that before we move on to our next panelist. We have a lot of base and a lot of talent, but has the government enabled systems that are now in place that these freelancers are able to interact effectively with the international markets, receive payments for their work done. Not everybody is going to have a bank account somewhere in the US or the UK or somewhere where they can receive their charges. So we still don't have PayPal, for example. I remember this was a big discussion, and it's still ongoing. But what has the government done, if you can just very quickly summarize, that can help this whole base that we have and talent that we have into reaching out into the international market?
So again, good question. I think अभी तक जो मैं एटलीस्ट जिन सर्कल्स में मेरी बात हुई है, जो चीजें मैं देख रहा हूँ in terms of where things are going, the government is very well aware that this is a beautiful avenue of getting foreign exchange into the country. Some banks, along with state banks, are also taking serious leaps and strides into it. Payoneer is another one. I know हमारा एक बड़ा PayPal के साथ एक romance है because वो एक बात छिड़ गई थी पहले और उसके ऊपर हो रहा था, but there are many alternatives to that as well. Payoneer is a great alternative as well, and I know Faisal Bank and others are also working closely to make that happen. So are we there yet? No. Are strides being made and the government and state bank understand the urgency? Yes. Are we heading in the right direction? Yes. Will it be solved very soon? Probably no. लेकिन आहिस्ता आहिस्ता उस तरफ हम जा रहे हैं, and I think I'm very positive that once this thing starts to open up, वो एक तरफ हो जाएगा. उसमें एक मैं चीज ऐड कर दूं, जो बहुत सारे foreign players हैं ना, we were just up in San Francisco, एक startup grind के event पे in February. We had taken some groups have taken some people out of Pakistan as well, and we took a trip to इसी तरह एक aggregator called Stripe, and we had a very open and honest conversation with them कि ये जो पैसों की movement back into the country वो कैसे होगी freelancers के हवाले से and everything. We have to understand that we are coming out of a very negative terrorism type action as well, जिसमें बहुत सारी पैसे हुंडी हवाले से जो जाया करते थे were not very kosher aspects as well. ठीक है, तो उसकी वजह से बहुत सारी इस तरह की कंपनियां कतराती भी आने के लिए, right? और again Payoneer and many others are starting to get to there. Again, it's not completely there. अभी पीछे एक issue भी होकर हटा है Payoneer की एक bulk of payments का and so forth. So we're very hopeful, inshallah, heading in the right direction, and inshallah soon enough all these hurdles will be out and our boys and girls will be able to do bigger things.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Imran, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Javed. Interesting to hear your thoughts. Can I request Kamran to display the polls before we move on to the next panelist? So our poll number 1 is, do you consider technology as the driving force behind your business? We'll share the answers with the audience as soon as this is completed. I suggest we move on to our next panelist, Javed Ahmed Saab, who's a senior fellow innovation and strategy for IOBM. Javed Saab, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and also tell us a little के आपकी disruption पे क्या thoughts हैं and how is that impacting Pakistani businesses?
Okay, thank you, Imran. I spent my life with the pharmaceutical industry around 3 continents, Europe, Far East, and a short stint in North America. And I sort of, as a second career, I moved into academics about 10 years ago. And I've been working around the areas of marketing and business strategy. That's the areas I worked around when I was in industry. And those are the areas I am working around now in the academic area. I am honored to be a part of this group of panelists where we have such successful and distinguished entrepreneurs who have made a tremendous impact upon their own business and consequently upon the landscape of Pakistan. And I think people like Javed Iqbal and others are also recognized internationally for what they have done. So, अब मेरा जो point of view है, I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, you fasten your seat belts because it's a little different from the run-of-the-mill views on the issue. When Kamran sent me this invitation to be a member of the panel, and when I read the title, it said Digital Disruption for Entrepreneurs and Small Businesses. And I'll tell you the way I interpreted this. And please understand the way that I interpreted it based on where I am coming from. Okay, I interpreted this as meaning that for new startups, for entrepreneurs, and for existing small businesses, how can DD, digital disruption, create new business models? And I think we have heard from the two excellent panelists who went before me how they have done it and how they are doing it. Acha, now pardon me, I am aware that a lot of real entrepreneurs, a lot of real e-men don't like theory, because theory is for sissies. Theory is for the real men are those who do stuff. And I 100% subscribe to that view. In no way do I differ from that at all. Mera ek point ye hai that when I look at the literature, I do not have a technology company that I run, nor do I work in a technology company. My contribution here is going to be more from an academic point of view. So mera sabse pehla submission to this august group is that digital disruption happens in an organization when the business model of that organization is changed. And I want you to please listen to this very carefully. The other pathway is of the contribution of digital technology is that it facilitates more aggressive competitiveness for an organization. And I think we've seen examples of that in both the presentations. Digital technology and technology in general also, in my view, gives an opportunity for organizations to become competitively agile. I am not going to give any conclusions or answers. I want to raise some questions. Do the members, do the audience here, these two things that I have just outlined. One is a digital disruption occurring inside an organization that changes the business model and the target audience, which means it changes the sources of revenue and costs and explodes or creates a new target audience. Okay, that is what the theory of digital disruption says. At the same time, it recognizes that technology and digital technology in particular, well, that is what we are talking about. It also offers a tremendous opportunity to organizations to become competitively aggressive and agile. Are these two different pathways that I am talking about? Or is it the same thing, to be competitively aggressive and agile versus disrupting the business model, the sources of revenues and costs, and the target audience? So that is one point I want to make. There are three other similar points. I want us to reflect upon these points. My second chunk, a 2 minutes chunk, is going to be upon micro case studies, which I think both the panelists have raised in the last few minutes. And I want us to reflect upon this. Uber, Airbnb, Food Panda. Are these examples of digital disruption? Or are these examples of competitive agility? Or both? Or is it just a trick of words that I'm trying to play? I want us all to reflect upon this. I don't think we will be able to give answers in a short time frame like this. The third thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was technology in the education sector, because I work in the education sector. Some years ago, and even today, there was a lot of literature coming out. One of the most famous ones was a tsunami is coming of digital disruption in the education industry. I'm still waiting for that tsunami, actually. Then there was these business models. You must have heard of them, of moves. I think Javed Iqbal and others are very familiar. Online moves, online communication, and online. Have these technologies like moves, like Coursera? I don't want you to say yes or no. I want you to reflect. Have they really disrupted the business model? Or have they been an add-on competitive agility to the existing business model? I don't want to give the answer because I don't know the answer. And I will discourage you from giving the answer, because as soon as we give the answer, learning will stop. I want you to reflect upon this.
I have so many opinions right now, Javed Saab.
Sorry?
Because you're making us all think so much. I have so many opinions right now, and then you tell us not to voice them because we need to reflect, which is the right thing to do. But you're absolutely right. I think the one thing that I agree with is digitization is not an end in itself. I believe from my personal point of view is, if you do not have a proper and very sound offering to whatever your stakeholder requires, no amount of technology is going to make it work. So digitization by itself is not an end all and mean it's not a solution that just comes out and just fixes everything. It's basically an enabling factor. And in some cases, specifically in education, I think it really depends on the situation that you find yourself in. So if you'd asked me this question about digital learning and how effective it can be 6 months ago, I would have been like, maybe I'll question it a bit. And then I spent the last 6 months with my kids being online and mashallah, still learning. So I think it sometimes comes to human beings being pushed into situations which they're not otherwise comfortable with, and just adapting, because that is the rule of the game for the entire species. So we adapt when we're forced to adapt. And I think technology plays a big part in helping us do that in a more positive way, rather than just leaving us out to pasture. So I love the thoughts that you have raised. I think we can do an entire session just on the thoughts that you have shared. And I think what we'll do is we'll revisit it again in the Q&A, because we're getting quite a few questions as well. So for right now, what we will do is we will move on to Asan, who's our CEO of iWant.pk, and his dream is to use technology and connect people that require opportunities from Pakistani suppliers and suppliers that want to go and expand internationally, and build a platform that connects both of them. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Asan to introduce himself and give us a brief background, and then we move on.
Thank you, Faria, and thank you, everyone. I think it's been a very learning session so far for myself. And I'm glad that I'm speaking at the end so that I can give perspectives to what has been said earlier. I am very fascinated by technology, and hence my startup, iWant.pk. is trying to do something for Pakistan, which is bringing businesses across Pakistan onto a single platform so that the world can trade more easily with Pakistan-based companies, manufacturers, growers, and they can connect with them easily. These models have been done internationally. I think a few people as well are trying it in Pakistan. We've had other platforms doing well in the B2C sector. They've been able to raise funding, and hence we know a lot of good names which are available on our mobile phones in shape of mobile applications. B2B is a place which is still, I believe, is yet to be explored to its right potential. And that's what I1.pk is doing. And giving, Faria, if you allow me to give a bit more perspective on what technology does for me, or if you have anything specific, if you have a specific question, I can answer that as well. And then maybe I can give my review towards the end. Please.
So the best thing
Yes.
for you to do is to tell us from your experience the specific disruptions that you hope to see in the initiative that you have taken, and how that initiative is going to help change the game for Pakistan.
So this has been an exciting, challenging journey so far. I've been involved with tech since the last 20 years, since tech has come into our lives. Actually, I remember the dial-ups that we used to connect with during the good old CBM days, and we used to make our presentations and spending the nights communicating with each other, spending time together actually to make reports, because technology wasn't that friendly at that point of time, which we are seeing today. So the dynamics have changed, but I think the disruption is a process actually. So it's not happening that I can say, okay, it happened in 1997, or it's happening in 2020, or it's going to happen in 2040. It's going to be a journey, and that journey is evolving. We had platforms like MSN Messenger and ICQ when in the very beginning internet started, which we right now are using in shape of WhatsApp. We had the regular phones, which had the capacity of storing 30 messages and probably 100 phone numbers, to which we have transitioned to probably storing of almost unlimited data, because we now have cloud storage data facility available as well. Yet, I was just going through some research work, and if I were to ask everyone over here, if you have any idea what percentage of people hold passport in USA, or what percentage of people hold passport in China. So you will be mind-boggled, most likely, that not even half of the US population owns a passport right now. Come to China, that's not even 15%. You can just imagine that what kind of technology disruptions are we talking about. Just imagine if 100%, forget about them getting technology, they're going to get 100% of population. But what about all that population getting passports in their hands? And when I say in their hands, I don't mean that book that we used to carry, but I'm talking about this thing as being used as a passport. Now, if 100% of population has an e-passport, just imagine the kind of revolution it's going to bring to our travel and logistics industry. Right now, if I have to travel to the US or any part of the world, I really have to make a plan for that. And just imagine if I have that e-passport where all my data, where all that security clearance that I have is already available at a click of a button. So I don't need those passport visa issuing authorities. We do away with all the passport issuing authorities. We truly become a global village. And if I want to travel to Miami tomorrow, I just book a flight and go over there and do whatever work that I'm looking for, or for pleasure. Just imagine that we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg just because we don't have passports. So if we can bring that disruption into the passport industry and the visa issuing industry, just imagine what kind of GDPs and traveling and logistics we are talking about. I will
Also
leave
tell
that,
us,
as Javed Sahab has said. I'm not going to give answers. I'm going to leave people with questions. Just imagine where we can go.
He set a good example.
Ehsan, also tell us a little bit about how are you contributing towards the concept of innovation? आप क्या कर रहे हैं? आपका venture क्या कर रहा है exactly? What are your thoughts on the way forward?
So Imran, I'm so fascinated by the earlier panelists. Asif and Javed are doing some great job. And मैंने एक project जो take up किया है recently, वो मैंने किया because see we've all been talking about कि हम जो है वो आइसोलेशन में जो है वो काम कर रहे हैं. पाकिस्तान में एक चीज जो इस वक्त बहुत ज्यादा मिस की जा रही है ना, आपने एक क्वेश्चन किया था कि जी यूनिकॉर्न्स कैसे बनेंगे. Good to have fascination with unicorns, but you know what? I believe unicorns are going to come when innovation is going to happen. तो हम फोकस अगर इनोवेशन के ऊपर कर लेना तो फिर यूनिकॉर्न्स उसका बाय प्रोडक्ट निकल के आ जाएंगे. मकसद कहने का ये है कि इंडिया ने जो है वो यूनिकॉर्न्स जो है ना, वो एक एक मूवी उनकी यूनिकॉर्न के बराबर होती है. तो उनकी इंडस्ट्री ने इस तरीके से इवॉल्व करा है अपने आप को कि अगर एक आमिर खान मूवी निकाल देता है या एक सलमान खान मूवी निकाल देता है या शाहरुख खान मूवी निकाल देता है, वो बाय इटसेल्फ ही यूनिकॉर्न हो जाती है. तो उन्होंने तो, हालांकि वो टेक सेक्टर के अंदर भी बहुत आगे हैं. So what I have planned is, which I can actually share my screen quickly and show it to you, कि मैंने पाकिस्तान में feel किया. I've lived in the Middle East, I've lived in the US, और मैंने एक चीज feel करी कि पाकिस्तान में इकोसिस्टम कोई है नहीं, जैसे कि सिलिकॉन वैली है या इंटरनेट सिटी है. ऐसी कोई चीज जो है वो पाकिस्तान के अंदर एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रही है. So I did some research work and I said, okay, if Pakistan has to progress, तो हमारे लिए important है कि हम एक and Imran, if you can kindly confirm when my screen is being shared, if it's being viewed.
Yeah, we can see that.
Perfect. So you can see the presentation slide, right? Okay, very good. So what I'm saying is, Pakistan के कुछ अगर मैं numbers share करूँ तो पाकिस्तान आज 2020 में GDP है $250 billion की और $25 billion की एक्सपोर्ट है, with a population of 200 million people and per capita of $1250. I'll just quickly take you to where we are lying in terms of other similar economies vis-a-vis Indonesia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Egypt, Vietnam, Bangladesh. हम लोग GDP per capita में जो हैं, we are lying at the bottom. Bangladesh is better, 1800, Vietnam 2500, Egypt is 2500 as well, Philippines 3300, Sri Lanka is $4,000, so is Indonesia. So हम बहुत lag कर रहे हैं. Forget about Malaysia and Turkey, they are sitting at $10,000 plus dollars. Thailand की भी जो है वो खासी ऊपर है. So even if we look at Indonesia's and Sri Lanka's and Philippines and Egypt, Vietnam, Bangladesh, हम लोग उनसे सबसे पीछे हैं. उसका एक जो कंट्रीब्यूशन मैं जो करने के लिए कोशिश कर रहा हूं वो ये कि हम एक पाकिस्तान टेक्नोलॉजी फंड बनाएं. नाउ दैट इज समथिंग दैट आई हैव प्रपोज्ड टू द कॉरिडोर्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट एज वेल, कि हम एक टेक्नोलॉजी फंड बनाएं. जस्ट इमेजिन 1000 कंपनीज कमिंग टुगेदर इन अ सिंगल प्लेस, स्टार्टअप्स जो कि इनोवेट कर रहे होंगे, जो कि सिर्फ अपने बिजनेस के ऊपर फोकस कर रहे होंगे. इस वक्त बिजनेसेस को बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस हैं. आपको ये नहीं पता मुझे ऑफिस स्पेस कहाँ पे मिलेगी, आपको लॉजिस्टिक्स, आपको कंपनी फॉर्मेशन, आपको जो है यूटिलिटीज, आपको फिर डिफरेंट गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी से डील करना है. नाउ व्हेन आई गो टू दुबई इंटरनेट सिटी, इट्स अ वन विंडो सॉल्यूशन. आई कैन गो एंड ओपन अप माय कंपनी विद इन 2 to 3 days, set up my office and start working over there. If we are able to do that, पाकिस्तान बात करता है CPEC की. CPEC का contribution जो है ना, जो हमें revenue मिलेगा CPEC से related, that's under 10% that we're going to get. So it's entirely a Chinese project. But पाकिस्तान को अपने भी कोई projects लेकर आने चाहिए जहाँ पे हम अपने ecosystem को जो है वो build कर सकें. And technology gives us a great opportunity where we can build up very quickly. उधर ही आप जो है वो companies के अंदर gather भी कर रहे होंगे companies को. ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है कि हमें टेक्नोलॉजी की एंग्रोज बनानी है, टेक्नोलॉजी की डेस्कॉन्स बनानी है. वी हैव टू हैव आवर ओन सक्सेस स्टोरीज ऑफ पाकिस्तान. हमें ये नहीं चाहिए कि करीम दुबई गया था तो करीम बना है. अगर करीम पाकिस्तान में होता तो करीम नहीं बनता. फूड पैंडा को जो है वो जर्मनी से अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट मिली है तो वो फूड पैंडा बना है, वरना फूड पैंडा नहीं बनता. अनफॉर्चुनेटली वी हैवंट बिल्ट आवर ओन इकोसिस्टम. हमारे जो इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, जो बैंक्स हैं, दे आर कन्वेंशनल कि ठीक है जी, टेक्सटाइल्स को तो लोन्स मिल जाते हैं, एग्रीकल्चर को तो लोन मिल जाते हैं, टेक्नोलॉजी को तो लोन्स ही नहीं मिलते हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स ही नहीं मिलती हैं. व्हाई इज दैट नॉट हैपनिंग? वंस वी आर एबल टू आंसर दोज क्वेश्चंस, हम लोग अगले 10 सालों के अंदर आई बिलीव वी कैन क्रिएट एटलीस्ट 10 unicorns over the next 10 years. And that is what I believe an ecosystem is, the purpose behind an ecosystem is. वरना हम अगर हम isolation में काम करते रहेंगे तो we will not be able to achieve the results that we are talking about, and we will always be talking about international comparisons कि जी इंडिया में क्या हो रहा है और चाइना में क्या हो रहा है और पाकिस्तान यूएस के अंदर क्या हो रहा है, और पाकिस्तान में हम सिर्फ बुरी ही चीजें दिखाते रहेंगे. So this proposal that I'm talking about, it has quite a few details into live, work, play concept. I've already sent that across to Ministry of Planning and Commission, which comes under Asad Umar Sahab, and I'm hoping to hear back from them to make this dream into a reality, which can be done very quickly. और उसके अंदर मैंने stakeholders भी डाले हुए हैं, which happens to which is a proposed list actually, जो कि इसके अंदर contribute कर सकते हैं, and this dream can be turned into a reality very quickly. तो ये एक ecosystem है, और मैं ये समझता हूँ कि अगर मुझे अपनी इंडस्ट्री को डेवलप करना है, जैसे मैं टेक सेक्टर से बिलोंग करता हूँ, तो अगर मुझे टेक सेक्टर को डेवलप करना है, इवॉल्व करना है, तो उसके लिए ये इकोसिस्टम बिल्ड करना जो है वो जरूरी है, जहाँ पे मुझ जैसी hundreds of companies can come together and create that disruptions that we are talking about. So this is quite a detailed answer to your question actually, where you said, KG, what is it that I am doing in terms of making an impact? And I'll come back to the first slide. कि जो 2030 का मेरा target है ना, वो ये कि we need to make Pakistan into a $500 billion GDP economy. Our exports need to go up to at least a $60 billion. हमारी जो per capita है वो at least 1250 से जो है वो $2000 तक जानी है. Now that is, if we keep those benchmarks and we do 10 such projects जहाँ पे मैं technology की बात कर रहा हूँ, and someone is doing disruption in textiles and so on and so forth. Sialkot is a great example, by the way, जहाँ पे उनकी इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट ने मिलके जो है वो अपनी पूरी सिटी एयरपोर्ट डेवलप करा है. तो I think things can be done. It's just about we coming together and doing things collectively than actually doing it individually.
Yes, and that's a wonderful example of how you are contributing towards the economy and also your vision going forward. Can I request Kamran to share the poll results with us, please, and also so 89% of the audience thinks that technology is the driving force behind your businesses. That's pretty much as expected, especially after the COVID situation when more businesses have been reliant on technology. Can we also share the other poll questions before we open up for Q&A? So what percentage of your revenue comes from online sources? That's our question number 2. Faria, I suggest we open up the floor for any questions. I understand different participants also wanted to talk about disruption. So we're happy to open up the floor for questions.
Yes, I think we've had more inputs rather than questions for this session. So the comments that we have are basically around, they're in agreement with the fact that the disruptions are happening because of the competitive agility and the opportunities that have suddenly come out because of the current situation that we are in. Also the fact that as we evolve, things 20 years back when all of us joined IOBM and we had that blue and white screen with the SNDP emails, it's evolved quite far now, and it's all been on the back of also consumer demand, plus which a lot of the time I think companies and organizations and innovators have just gone ahead and innovated ahead of the curve and then said, all right, you know what, we're going to put it out there and then let's see what the reception is. So it's not a chicken or an egg. You actually, you can't define, I need to find a need to serve and then innovate around it. Sometimes you create a need out of the blue, and that is what I believe that our disruptors and even our panelists are doing. So the questions, there are less questions rather than agreements with what has been expressed in the forum today.
So any last words from the panelists? Any thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah, I would like to start, and I would like to say, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people these days I speak with, they talk about, look at the wealth of these Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all these guys, you know, they have multiplied in numbers. My feedback to them is that they saw the opportunity 20 years back, not today, you know. And if you ask me what is going to happen, their wealth is going to be multiplied by 3 or 4 times, 5 or 10 years down the road, because digital is a way forward. And if you are thinking that it is only be limited to COVID situation, it is not that. The consumer behavior, the millennials, how they interact and how they want to bring change in their life, it's very different. And, you know, the generations post that, you know, they're all going to be on mobile, which is basically a part of a digital strategy. If your business is not aligned on that, you're certainly going to be missing more and more in coming days. And we will be giving more and more examples of the foreigners, as I mentioned, that we give examples of Indians, we give examples of Chinese, we give examples of people sitting in US and other parts of the world. So it's very important for our businesses. And I'm talking about any kind of business, be it a grocery business, be it e-commerce, be it, you know, any seller that has something to sell to the public, be it local or outside, you have to make yourself available online. And for that, you need to have investment, because in most of the cases in Pakistan, people believe, the businesses believe that, you know, it's a wasted investment. There's no ROI on that. And that is the reason why, you know, people are happy only in developing their own ecosystem rather than collaborating more outside. So I think just to conclude, my point is that, you know, digital is a way forward. And if you want to grow, rather than just complain about what's wrong and, you know, how other people are growing, it's your responsibility to understand that and implement digital strategy and implement digital workflows and seize the opportunities like this COVID, where you cannot do many things outside. Focus inside, you know, work inside, digitize your processes, implement digital strategies, educate your workforce on the tools and services for your organization to have digital workflows. And this is what exactly we have done in this COVID. We have completely digitized almost all processes. Payments, you talk about complaint resolution, you talk about proposal sending, you talk about sales pitch, you talk about anything. We have digitized end-to-end everything. You know, nobody's coming to office, and it's just not about COVID. We are just thinking that, you know, if this is the way forward, that we can continue working this way, where we can give freedom to all our employees and all our partners, that they can, you know, operate online. But more importantly, what this has allowed us, this is allowing us to have people from around the world, not just in Karachi, not just in Pakistan, from around the world, and we can use tools to work with them and see how we can collaborate more and deliver more results and have a truly global organization. And this opportunity, I think, is for everyone, not just for only tech companies, but any company that is operating offline can go online and can disrupt many things, you know, the opportunity that are here. So just one more point about GDP and the export thing. So because of this COVID, a lot of distribution around the world with respect to China has been disrupted, and people are thinking, what are the alternate avenues are there? So Pakistan is certainly one of the destinations that we have cheap labor, and we have number of services, number of products that can be exported to other countries. So, and combining this facility at home using technology, combining these two, I think the numbers that Ahsan Jabbar has shared, we can, I'm very positive that we can achieve much before that. I'm talking about 2025, 2026. So digital is a way forward, if I would like to summarize it.
I just want to add one piece. I think Asif has raised a very valid point when he mentioned that the ability of people to understand how to measure the return on digital investment and efforts is still, unfortunately, it's a bit of a black box sometimes. Whether it comes to revenue streams, where exactly are they coming from, whether it comes to the return on the advertising that businesses invest into. A lot of the times it's the person you're advertising with that will also give you the data on this is what you've gotten out of the money that you gave me, right? And the auditing process for that globally is still not very robust. So I think that's a key area for, and this is not just for Pakistan, obviously, it's a key area. It needs to be a global initiative where all the tech leaders sit down and say, all right, how do we give that confidence to our customers and our investors to understand that when they put in money somewhere, this is how they can measure the return in an impartial manner, which is not just thrust upon them from the company that they're investing in. So that still requires a lot of work, and it goes across industries. It doesn't matter where you look at it. But the potential, obviously, for digital is limitless and something that we all need to embrace as quickly as possible, because that's what the new world looks like. I love the thought.
I want to add something to that, Freya, if I can. There's always a lot of talk about ROI in these instances. Ke ROI ka really matlab hai kya, right? And ROI obviously can be measured in many different ways in this case as well. I think everyone's established that if you do not have a digital strategy, you do not have a strategy going forward in the business. So ROI in this case is not a return on investment. ROI in this case is the risk of ignoring it completely. So do not get hung up on every small piece of investment that gives you a return. Start getting hung up on ignoring each of these aspects, whether it's employing infrastructure, whether it's cloud-based, on-premise, any of that, employing communication platforms, जो आसिफ जिसकी बात कर रहा है, employing customer relationship की strategies, enterprise resource planning की strategies, web strategies, social strategies, and all of that. I think ये जो collectum बनता है on digitization, एक तो a lot of people miss the boat on. Secondly, a lot of them also believe that digitization is the front end aspect of things. अगर आपने Zoom कर लिया है, Zoom enable कर दिया है सबको, तो आप digitized हो गए हैं, right? अगर आपने थोड़े से लोगों को digitally पैसे देने शुरू कर दिए हैं, तो digitized हो गए हैं. जो, you know, we draw a diagram, and I wish I had that on me right now for me to even pull that up. Think of it, वो जो hard work or success वाला वो होता है, क्या कहते हैं, that avalanche जिसमें ऊपर थोड़ा सा नजर आ रहा होता है पानी के ऊपर थोड़ा सा, you know, of that thing of the mountain, whatever, और नीचे सारा काम हो रहा होता है. Your digitization is below the water. It's not above the water. आपके जब तक पुराने सारे streams पीछे के, जैसे आसिफ ने बताया कि how these guys have done, you know, they have managed every process and automated that. जब तक आप backend से उसको पूरा अब तक आगे तक stream तक manage नहीं कराएंगे, वो नहीं होगा. And this requires help. Majority of the people in Pakistan have not done this. They're not equipped for it. Seek outside help. Seek help from people that understand two mindsets. Not only understand the mindset that's abroad, which is excellent to get, but people who can also manage it internally. आपका इसका जब तक आप, sorry, I just realized कि मेरा कैमरा नहीं खुला हुआ. Sorry about that. Apologies on that. आसिफ ने खोला तो मुझे ख्याल आया. जब तक आप ये realize नहीं करेंगे कि पीछे वाले और सामने वाले एस्पेक्ट्स नहीं हो रहे हैं जब तक रियलाइज करेंगे कि ये वाला एस्पेक्ट हमें कोई ऐसे लोग आके हेल्प करके दें जो बाहर का भी मामला समझते हो और लोकली भी समझते हो, और उसको गैप एड्रेस करके दें जब तक ये आप लोगों के हमारे कॉन्टेक्स्ट में डिजिटाइजेशन होगी नहीं. And this is what we changed. When we started operating in Pakistan 4 or 5 years ago, we used to go to a bank, telco, pharma, others, and we'll talk about all the examples that were out there from the Western world. And we could see लोगों की शक्लें कि मतलब ये बोल क्या रहे हैं. But I think इतने सारे और strides हो गए हैं कि there is a lot of great examples of local companies that have done a lot of excellent work. उनकी examples रख के, things like Asif just talked about as well, उनको amalgamate करके बाहर की innovation अपने aspect से contextualize करके अपने culture के हिसाब से, if you start putting those models out, you'll be the winner. And jugaad wala concept, because we are a people that find those jugaad aspects, find digital jugads. By all means, make it personal. Digital and innovation and disruption is not necessarily जो कि बाहर से, to the Javed Ahmed साहब's point, बाहर से आएगी और कोई इस तरह का, you know, ऊपर से मोम्मा आके आपको फरिश्ता कर देगा. It has to come from inside with an assumption के ideas ऊपर से जो आ रहे हैं वो करने.
Can I say something?
Good phrase that you actually trademark it and sell it later on.
Which one?
Digital jugaad. I like that.
By all means.
Can I say something here? What Javed just explained, and I would like to share our case study. You know, because we just implemented this, and there were some aspects around that which I would like to highlight. One is that when we do digitization in an organization, so a lot of employees actually most of the time consider that ये हमारे ऊपर कोई अब किसी किस्म का जो है control build हो रहा है जिसके अंदर, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, yeah. So basically, it's when we talk about the digitization in organizations, so a lot of time, you know, employees feel like that this is some kind of a trap from the owners or from the higher management to look in all aspects of how organization, or particularly employees, are performing. Without digitization, you know, reports are being, you know, generated, you know, on Excels, which are really not online. So, you know, most of the time, employees actually kind of reject the idea of digitization. So, however, so we kind of understood this, and rather than just announcing that we are, you know, digitizing our workflow processes, we ask, you know, all our employees how we can help your life to, you know, be an employee and you can really enjoy doing what you're doing. So what are your pain areas, and how you think that, you know, if we implement something that will help you. So they suggested that if you can do this, if you basically, my customer services head asked me that, you know, I have to reply, you know, customized emails, and, you know, that takes a lot of my time. So we said, can we develop templates, you know, predefined templates? Maybe you have 5 kind of templates, you have 10 type of templates, and you have 20 or maybe 100. So can we predefine templates, and can we have a tool at the time of reply, rather than typing the entire email, you can pick up from the template and you can just attach within 2 to 3 seconds. So can this, you know, really help the way you're doing things, and will this basically bring peace to the way you're doing things? So, you know, and we found a tool, and we're using HubSpot for that. I would like to share that. HubSpot is basically a platform that has an integrated marketing, customer support, sales, you know, marketing automation, customer services automation, sales automation, and all that. And, you know, because the process and the platform is so integrated, people are talking to each other, people are basically documenting things, and they, you know, they're just enjoying it right now. So we are doing much more work, but it has not brought, you know, more burden on employees. Rather, they're saying, okay, you know, this has given us more time, and the tasks they used to do before, like in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, now they're doing it like they're doing like this, and they're enjoying it. So
and I'll add something to that as well, Asif. I think so. One of the things, I'll give another use case. Do we have time, Mr. Bilgrami? Yeah, are we done?
I think we are running out of time, so we've got poll results to share, and we will bring more sessions forward. But if you have a quick comment to make, please do.
Sure, I'll make it very quick. So one of the things that we've done, you know, I don't do shameless plugs, but it's an offering that we do as well. When we go to organizations, we do a digital acumen assessment of their employees. हमारा एक framework हमने बनाया है that showcases 5 different dimensions of digital learning. के ये aspects है कि हम लोगों को कहते हैं digitize हो जाए, they don't know what that really means as well. Data की literacy क्या है, content समझना क्या है, marketing क्या है, उसकी security क्या है, there are many aspects like that. So हम उनकी journeys बना के देते हैं, based on that they can sort of go forward with that as well. So pick a framework, pick any framework that you know works for you, for your organization. Aajkal to thousands of universities have free courses during COVID times to help you with those various aspects of learnings as well, and up your employees' acumen. तो पहले assess कराएं उनको किसी तरह कि वो कहाँ खड़े हैं और उनको उस जर्नी पे लेके जाएं, और जर्नी के साथ साथ अपने सिस्टम्स को भी अप कराएं ताकि जब वो acumen wise ऊपर हो जाएं तो उनके पास वो वाले सिस्टम्स भी हों जिनको वो लेवरेज करके आपको उस तरह का डेटा, उस तरह की कस्टमर सर्विस, उस तरह के न्यू मॉडल्स बना के दे सकें जो कि you would not have previously been able to do. So I think it's a moving concept that one has to assume, but a lot of work ahead, and with a lot of these discussions, inshallah, we'll achieve that.
Inshallah. And I think just personally, a word of caution as we move into this highly digitized space. I remember Stephen Hawking once said, AI will spell the end of mankind as we know it. And you can actually see that happening in the developed world, where the bigger conglomerates are going ahead and, you know, replacing humans with drones and cyborgs and several other digital and AI interfaces. Very scary example I heard of a tech company owner actually going to somebody and saying, I want to capture all the keystrokes of my employees and feed that into AI so I can replace the humans in 6 months. So I think there's a lot of regulation also that we need to look at in terms of protecting the human species as we go forward, which is a whole different discussion. And I think we'd love to have you guys back to actually give your views on it, because you're in the thick of it. So that's a separate discussion that I think we should have at a later stage. But as we promote digitization, I think there also be some human protection laws that go into place alongside all of these wonderful efforts that we're creating to create more efficiency and create more time and flexibility for our people. So that's just an off-topic thought, but I think it's a thought starter for a different discussion that we can have later. Imran, over to you.
Can I request Kamran to share the poll results for the second question, please? So we asked the audience what percentage of your revenue comes from online avenues, and 57% have said
wow,
that more than 80% comes from online. That's quite surprising, because in Pakistan, despite all this digitalization, we still rely on the traditional modes of sales. So that's quite interesting. I just want to thank our panelists for joining us today. Asif Jafri from eOcean and Momentum, Javed Iqbal Saab from Transform X, Javed Ahmed Saab from IOBM, and Ehsan Jabbar from iWant. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be bringing you more sessions so that we can share your ideas and different ideas with the audience. So I also appreciate the audience for joining in. Thank you to the host for hosting, and we look forward towards our future sessions. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Khuda Hafiz.